Hey guys, today I'm going to teach you how to use some math vocabulary. We're just going to review some of those word clues that let us know if a problem is asking you to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to recognize those word clues for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And this goes all the way back to what you learned probably in like third grade, up to what you'll need from last year, and then up to this year in seventh grade. So let's go ahead and get started with addition. Addition is a math operation that is what it happens whenever you combine numbers. Usually when we talk about addition, we're talking about increases, things going up, things that go together to make something bigger. So let's look at some of the word clues for addition. If I have 5 apples and Kinley has 10 apples, we have 15 apples in all. That's also called our sum. So the answer to an addition problem is the sum. So if I said find the sum, you should know you're supposed to add. That only is applying to adding. Total is another word you might see. If I have more, I could be adding. Remember plus, that plus sign is the biggest way to tell if you're adding. You probably learned that a long time ago. This is just a basic review. If we have, like I said, 15 apples altogether, that's an addition clue. If we increase, that's an addition clue. And then obviously add. So what I want you to do now is to go ahead and think of one more word we can add to this list that's not already on here. Think of one more word that means addition. You can think of it in sports or money. Go ahead and think of one more word, pause the video, and then press play when you're ready to check. Okay, so you should have paused the video and thought of another word to add to this list of addition. The word that I thought of was gain. If I'm thinking about sports, I'm thinking about football specifically. If I get a 10-yard gain, I'm adding that gain to my total yardage. So gain was the word that I thought of. You might have thought of something different. If you have something different, go ahead and put that in the comments, and then we can keep rolling. Here's some example problems for addition. We'll go ahead and look at the first one. It says there's 6 walnut trees currently in a park. As I go through a word problem, I always like to underline the important information. So there's 6 currently. That means there's 6 right now. Park workers will plant 2 more walnut trees. And then how many will there be when the workers are finished? So how many will there be in all or altogether? This is 6 plus 2, and you know that's 8. So this is an example of an addition problem. The next one says Fred went to 6 hockey games this year. He went to 6 already, and then he went to 4 games last year. How many did he go to in all? Remember, in all is one of our clue words. This is for addition. So 6 plus 4, you should know, is 10. The next math operation I want to talk about is subtraction. This is whenever you go down, you're decreasing, you're taking things away from something. So let's go ahead and look at some clue words to let us know that a problem is asking us to subtract. If Gavin has 10 apples and I have 1 fewer apple than Gavin, I have 9 apples. That's a subtraction problem. If Layla has 20 dogs and then 13 of them run away, how many dogs does she have left? She has 7 left. You would subtract to find that out. If you're doing something less, you're taking away. Minus, you probably held up 10 fingers whenever you were in primary and you said, now what's 10? Take away 1 little piggy. And you said there's 9 left, and that would be subtraction. That's the takeaway. That's minus. It's the minus symbol here. Difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So if I said, what's 5 minus 2? 3 is the difference. That's the difference between 5 and 2. Difference means subtract. How many remain? If we decrease, how many more? These are all words that let us know the problem is asking about subtraction. So let's look at some examples. In this problem, Sarah had 9 nickels in her bank. She spent 2 of her nickels. How many nickels does she have now? Go ahead and pause the video whenever you've realized which word in this word problem tells me that I'm going to be doing subtraction. Okay, so you should have looked at this and you should have paused it whenever you realized that spent is the word that tells us we're subtracting. If she spent 2, she took away 2. That's a money word for subtraction. So 9 minus 2, she has 7 left. Let's look at the next one. Joan found 9 seashells on the beach. She gave Dan 6 of the seashells. How many does she have now? Go ahead and think to yourself which of these words in this problem tells you we're subtracting. Pause the video and play whenever you're ready. Okay, you should have paused the video and realized gave. She gave 6 away. So this problem would be 9 minus 6. You should also realize that 9 minus 6 is 3. Let's go ahead and talk about our next operation, multiplication. Multiplication is just repeated addition. So it's just addition over and over and over again. So if you looked at a problem like 2 times 4, this is really the same thing as 2 4 times. So you can do 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. That's the same thing. Repeated addition is multiplication. That's how I would explain it to you if you were in 4th grade. But there's some other words that let you know a problem is asking you to multiply. Let's go ahead and look at those now. Let's say I have $3 and Barrett has 10 times as much money as I do. That's times, and then he'd have $30. That's the product. 30 is the product. That's the answer to a multiplication problem. So Barrett would have $30 in that situation. Let's say Bree has 2 times as much money as I do, and I have $3, remember? That's twice the amount, or 2 times the amount. She'd have $6. If I said, I'm going to give each person in this class a Hershey Kiss, I'm going to take the number of Hershey Kisses that I have. Let's say each one gets one, times, let's say there's 30 people in our class. I'd have 30. Each one gets one. That's multiplication. You might have heard the words factor, or how many altogether, or in all. Remember, those are addition words, but multiplication is just repeated additions. Just pay attention to what kind of math you're looking at here, and then obviously multiply. So let's look at some example problems. My first one here says there are 3 children in the classroom. Each student will get 2 pencils. How many pencils will the teacher have to give out? Go ahead and think to yourself, what's the math problem that I can use to model this word problem? And whenever you have that, go ahead and pause the video, think about it, and then when you have it, press play. Okay, so you should have thought about this and realized there's 3 children in the classroom. Each means times, and they'll each get 2 pencils. So the math problem that models this scenario is 3 times 2, and you should realize that 3 times 2 is 6. You could also say twice 3. That one is the same thing, or 3 by 2. That's the same thing. The next problem says Tim has 6 books. Joan has 4 times more books than Tim. How many books does Joan have? Again, go ahead and think this to yourself, pause it, think about it, and then press play when you're ready. Okay, you should have paused it and thought about it and realized that this example is modeling 6 times 4. It says that Tim has 6 and Joan has 4 times as many. 6 times 4 is 24. So far, this might have been a lot of review for you and pretty basic, but now I want to bring it to the 7th grade level. So really pay attention to this, really focus. This is really, really important. So one of the things in 7th grade math and then beyond, in 8th grade, 9th grade, and everywhere beyond, you probably won't write it like 3 times 2 like this. You probably write it a little bit different. So there's a couple different ways to write a multiplication problem. One of them is to use parentheses. So instead of writing it 3 times 2, I might write 3 parentheses 2. It means the same thing. This isn't 32. This is 3 times 2. If a number is next to another number in parentheses, that means multiply. I could write it 3 parentheses 2 or parentheses 3 parentheses 2. So those little parentheses, that tells you to multiply. Another way to write this might be to write a little dot. So whenever you get up into higher math, you might have heard of algebra. Algebra, we use variables and these letters for numbers. So whenever letters start to get up in the math, you might confuse that for an X. So we like to use a dot. That's the reason why we use dots, but it means the same thing. All of these mean to multiply. And then there's one other thing you might see. It's a little star. So on your keyboard, if you put an X in and you type in X on a computer calculator, it might not understand what you're talking about. But if you type in 3 star 2, it might know that you're trying to multiply. So really, these are the major ways that we'll start to write multiplication in 7th grade, with parentheses or with that little dot. Okay, so the last math operation I want to talk about in this video is division. Division is basically the opposite of multiplication. Division means that you're taking something really big and you're splitting it up between something else. It's like if I have 15 Hershey Kisses and I split it between Izzy and Clay, each one of them gets 15 Hershey Kisses. I'm dividing. So let's go ahead and look at some of those key words. So like in my example, I had 30 Hershey Kisses and I cut it in half basically, or divided it by 2 between those 2 people. If I'm taking that, that's a division problem, and then my answer, 15, is the quotient. So the answer to a division problem is the quotient. The dividend and divided, you probably heard those words in 4th grade. Shared equally, if I take these Hershey Kisses and I share them equally or equal groups, that is a clue that means divide. The same number of Hershey Kisses go into each group. I'm grouping, I'm separating. These are all words that mean divide. So let's go ahead and look at these 2 example problems. This one says there was a total of 27 baseball games in the season, and the season is played for 9 months. How many baseball games are played each month if each month has the same number of games? So I'm taking the number of months. Let's say it's May, June, and then July. And I'm just going to split up 27. One goes to each thing until I count 27. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You probably did this in 4th grade. I could keep going, but the problem is now in 7th grade, you would realize 27 divided by 9, and you would realize, oh, that equals 3. The next problem said Fred has 24 muffins in total, which he needs to box up into dozens. Remember, a dozen means 12. Dozen means 12. If you have a dozen eggs, you have 12 eggs. How many boxes does he need? How many boxes does he need for 24 muffins? If he wants to divide it into 12. So 12 goes into 24 2 times, so he needs 2 boxes. Remember, division and multiplication are the opposites. You can think about it like that. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about with division, this is the 7th grade level of division, is that you might not see division written just like this. You might see it written a little different. So this is still fine. We can still write it like that, but we can also write it like this, 27/9. That's the same thing. That little slash line is the exact same thing as divide. Another way you might see it is 27 with a line like this, 27/9. That's the same thing. It looks like a fraction, but a fraction really just is dividing. So these are some different ways that you might see division. You might have seen it like this with the big 7. It's the same thing. All of these mean divide. So now I want to give you a chance to go through and look at 4 practice problems. I want you to figure out, is the problem asking me to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? I want you to underline the clue word that tells you that. And then I want you to figure out the problem and the answer that matches it. So go ahead and pause the video and do that for me. Okay, so you should have gone through all 4 of these practice problems, and you should have realized whether it was addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Remember, if you didn't do that, go ahead and pause and do that now before you check your answers. So let's go ahead and look at the first one. It says, Tom found 9 seashells on the beach. He gave Mary 5 of the seashells. How many seashells does he have now? So he had 9. He gave away 5. Now he has 4. Pretty basic. Next problem says, Alyssa has 3 black marbles. Sandy has 6 times more black marbles. How many black marbles does Alyssa and Sandy have? If there is 6 times more than 3, that's 3 times 6, or 6 times 3. That's a multiplication problem. And remember, we want to write it now like 6 times 3 like that, or if you wrote it 3 parentheses 6. All 3 of these would be correct. And you know that the answer for all of them anyway is 18. They have 18 altogether. The next one says, Sarah picked 6 lemons from the orchard. She gave 4 lemons to Alyssa. How many lemons does Sarah have now? This is another subtraction problem. She had 6, gave away 4, now she has 2. 2 would be her difference. The last one says Joan has 7 red balloons. Mike has 9 red balloons. How many red balloons do they have in total? How many in total is your clue word, so you can realize you're trying to find the sum. Remember, the sum is the answer to an addition problem. So you're looking for 7 plus 9, and that equals 16. All right, guys, that's it. If you made it to the end of this video, please put your birthday in the comments. At the end of every video lesson, I'll ask you to put something in the comments. That's just a quick way for me to check to make sure you watched the lesson for the day. Today, we went over math vocab for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So you should be able now to recognize those word clues and really have a good understanding of those 4 basic math operations that you'll use in 7th grade math. So now you can go ahead and go back to the calendar, complete any assignments you have left for the day, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.